heard that in a minute, man.
No, it's so good to be back with Adam. Welcome, Adam.
What
Missed
is
you.
going on, my friend?
Love you. Love your show.
Appreciate it.
So we're back to talk about some things, things that some will like, things that some might not like. And I just want to point out too, anything I say are my views and not Adam's. So if you decide that at some point you want to hate me, that's fine. Don't hate Adam. He's awesome. He loves everybody and he believes how everybody else believes.
Yep. And if you decide that you want to hate me, you might as well hate Scott too, because
I'm just joking. Yeah, I'm totally Now anything he says that you don't like, I told him to say it. Just remember that. I'm blackmailing Adam.
He's right.
So nothing that he is saying that is negative that you don't like is his own original thoughts. They are the sober heathen. He's the douche.
I'm just a puppet.
Yeah, really. I mean,
where's your right hand? I was going to say, where's your right hand?
It's on the control. It's on the controls. So we've been talking for a half an hour before I hit go live, and we've already touched on some really good things. Hopefully, they're as good as that was, just the two of us. Yes, the two of us. All right, if my son's listening, he just got really super embarrassed that his dad tried to sing on a live thing. But anyway, we got some stuff to talk about. If you got your big book, you can open to page 7. That's going to be one of the pages that you're going to need to reference if you're looking around, or you can Google it and find out that it's accurate as well. So, what you been doing in our break, Adam, before we get into all that?
Man, since the last time we talked on here,
yeah,
I have been all over the Southeast, either vacationing or working. Let's see, I've been down to Florida a couple times, done some paddle boarding on the Weeki Wachee River, which is where they have all the mermaids in Florida. Really cool. If you're ever in the Tampa area, look at Weeki Wachee. They have a mermaid show. It's crystal clear water. It's like a 60-foot deep lagoon. It's 72 degrees year round. Love it. I'm in DC right now, just outside of DC in Herndon, Virginia. Been doing a lot of boating, a lot of tubing, just having a good summer. Trying to keep the kid moving forward, but still enjoying summer, not backsliding into, remember, 2 + 2 = 4.
Right.
This is how you spell cat. So, and school starts Thursday down here.
Holy shit! This Thursday?
August 1. Yeah.
Wow.
It's actually the first time in her school career so far that she has not started in July.
Wow.
Yeah, they start them early down here.
No kidding. Well.
Yeah.
I haven't been doing anything remotely that fun. That's not
true. Working out.
Yeah, I haven't been doing that, man. My shoulders are popping left and right. I can't shake this neck and shoulder thing. But the boys have been coming over more. We split them up, and I had each one of them for their own individual weekend. So it was 3 nights and 4 days for both of them.
That's good. It's good to get some alone time with you.
Yeah. Well, it took them like 3 hours from the time they got home that they were fighting and got grounded. So it really, they probably need a little bit more of that. But this weekend, it'll be everybody. Everybody be back here. Where are you guys streaming from? Well, I'm streaming from Michigan.
Yep. I am currently in Herndon, Virginia, just outside of DC. I'm like a mile and a half from Dulles International. So if you know where that is.
Yeah. God bless the interwebs for being able to bring us together like this.
Isn't it cool? I love it.
Yeah. Where are you listening from? How about that? That's a follow-up question for you. I'd love to know where people are listening from. We got 13 people checking in right now.
Oh, rock and roll.
14. We'll see how many people leave once we get into the meat and potatoes of this first part of the discussion. That's the goal. Yeah,
the goal is to keep you in.
That's what I want. I want to help people with their recovery. I want to have some sort of message that people can relate to. I think I spoke about this on my live, but I didn't tell you this, Adam. And so I think it bears repeating. And this isn't me tooting my own horn. This is just how awesome connection can be. So I had a guy and a gal come into my office. They came in on their own. Dude was suffering from a cocaine addiction. He had just put himself into his first inpatient treatment and was there for just a couple of hours. A lot of bad things were going on. He thought he saw a bunch of pubes on the bed he was going to sleep in.
Oh, no.
Yeah, two dudes made some awkward comments about him being there. And then he went and walked around for a minute. When he came back, the snacks he was allowed to bring, like 5 of them were gone. And so he called up his girlfriend and said, hey, I can't do this. So they came to our outpatient. Well, without giving away too much of him, because if he's listening to this, he already knows I'm talking about him, but nobody knows who you are. So we're good. Right. But anyway, it's a great story because when he comes in, he said, okay, I went to this place. And I was like, oh yeah, that place sucks. That was my first one. And the look on his face was one of like, oh, thank God. And then the look on his girlfriend's face was like, oh my God. Like he wasn't lying. He just wasn't bailing out of this thing and being away from home. This place actually legitimately sucks. And yeah, hope, High to Hope. Oh, I like that. High to Hope. I like that. Yeah, rehab sucks, but this one is really bad. I've been to three different inpatients, and I mean this one was not even close to the other two. It was horrible. And so anyway, we got to talking about it. By the end of it, the dude signed up for our Codaphone, which is where you call in every morning to see if your color's called, and it's randomly selected. So he signed up on his own with his girlfriend. At the end, I was like, this is something some people do. Would you like to do it? This will help you talking to him. This will help show her that you're not using when she doubts it, because she will, and that's okay. We made it this way. This will help you, speaking to her, know that he's not lying. Yeah. And so it'd be really good. So they decided 2 times a month, and then if she suspects something, she'll drive his ass in and pay the $15 and do an instant test. His girlfriend was once a fiance and now downgraded to girlfriend. Yeah. That's what happened with Miley and I. Yeah. And so really connected. And the dude shows up to my group the next day. And I was like, dude, I'm so happy to see you, man. That's great. You haven't even had your assessment yet. You haven't had your first meeting. So great to see you. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I had to, he basically said he had to come back. He's like, he shared a little bit later on. He's like, yeah, my girlfriend mentioned your name like 5 or 6 times after we came here and signed up the other day. He's like, everything that you had to say just really resonated with her, to both of us. And it really, kind of opened our eyes to a lot of things, and all it was I'm not a psychopath. That's what he was realizing. And what she was realizing, like, okay, he's not a psychopath. Like, yeah, this is pretty par for the course for people in addiction. We don't want to lie, but we do. And we feel like we have to lie when sometimes we don't have to lie, but we do it anyway. Mm-hmm. And I think for him and for her to hear these things and hear these stories, to see me, which, I mean, when I tell somebody I got 4 drunk drive-ins and I'm a felon and I'm sitting at a desk doing an intake at an outpatient place, people are like, okay, so you can make it out of this thing. You know what I mean? Like, what I mean? Like, it's like, this dude ain't a billionaire, but it's something. And to show you with 4 drunk drive-ins and you're just not dead and you're not in a jail cell, seems to be a motivating factor. So High to Hope is from Georgia.
Yeah, my neck of the woods. I'm from Athens, so I'm in Augusta. Well, I used to be until that job site finished up, but used to be in Augusta a lot. But yeah, man, in Athens.
Yeah, no offense to the DC last year. I don't think I'll be going back. Nobody wants to go to DC. That's where we said this. Yeah, that's where they said the scumbags. That's why I vote for them. Like, if I don't like you, I'm gonna vote you in, so you go to DC. Don't go there. Let's see. There is hope. I got lucky when I went to a great program my first time. I had to do 2 rounds without a relapse, but I'm still sober today, and I still work with the rehab, which is where my podcast came from, giving them access to more classes all times. Oh, that's really awesome. I'd like to. Cool. We'll have to connect and talk more about that. Maybe even come on and have you talk about it in person. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the rehab group family visit is very helpful. I actually, after this last visit and after a couple others before, people coming in the door, I talked to my boss, and the next thing that I'm going to start is maybe once or twice a month an Al-Anon type meeting where people can come in, and I can have speakers. I can speak myself. Just kind of open it up where people that don't really understand addiction can ask questions. They can hear a story, and maybe get some information for somebody that's struggling. Maybe it's somebody that's not a client. Somebody off the street. Hey, my son.
So one of the outpatients, the IOPs I went to, did a family night like that, and they did it with, like, my wife came with me to the meeting.
Yep.
I don't recommend that.
Right.
I think it was helpful for like one time maybe for the other person, the family, to see that you're in there and you're participating and that there's structure and there's stuff being done. You're talking and learning, and gives them a sense of what it is that you're trying to process and get through. But at the same time, like, I think after that initial one, then if it's going to be, I think it's great to have, hey, all the people that are participants go over here and have their normal day. And then all the people that are family members come over here and meet with somebody like you, where they can ask a question, not feel like they're going to embarrass, their significant other, or, there's never a time where that is comfortable enough that you're going to open up completely honestly.
No. And that
you will open up, but you will never do it completely honestly.
Yeah, it's going to be where if you want to bring your family into your one-on-one session and have a discussion there, you can do that. But this would be completely separate from the, I mean, if you want to come with your family member, then I'm not going to tell you no, but this is more good. That way they might ask questions that they don't feel comfortable asking when you're there. So I just want this to be like a educational thing, not only for family, but even maybe people in the community that want to learn a little more.
Yeah. Man, and it's one of the rehabs I went to. Have you ever heard of a bull ring? The bull ring, the family day? Like, no. So I think this is a very old, outdated model, but it was, family day for rehab. So my parents and my wife came, everybody that's participating. It's all the seniors, the people that have been there for 3 weeks already. This is in the 4th week. And everybody's in the room. And then you basically go and you sit in the middle. I mean, everybody. I mean, all the participants, all their families, your family, counselors, the therapist. And we sat in the middle of the room facing each other and basically had to have a very, very awkward conversation in front of everybody where they ask you questions and you have to answer. It was fucked up.
See, now that sounds initially like a terrible thing and it wouldn't work. What I found out, and I still agree with that thought process. I'll put that out there. But what we did in one of the treatment centers, the Harbor Hall in Petoskey, Michigan, we'd have every Friday, it was called Fish Fry Friday, because you never knew what the hell was going to happen. And the fish fry was when the spiritual director would come in and we would sit in a circle. Or if somebody was fucking around in the house, male or female, or they were being disruptive to everybody else's treatment, would be pulled up in front of the class. And it wasn't like an option. Who's got a problem with this person? It would start as an option. But these people were so connected, like the staff, they knew everything that was going on. So they knew if I went over and talked to this guy, he went back and reported to him. And it was like a connective, cohesive thing. It was actually pretty neat. And after the fish fry, there were many times where guys would be in there and like, I'm not taking this shit. I'm fucking leaving. And I can't tell you, at least 2-3 times, and so I was there 60 days the first time, and I was there for close to 90 before I went into sober living. There were 2, 3, 4 times that guys would storm out and then come back in like an hour later and apologize to the house, admit all the cocksucking shit that they were doing, and be like, I really want to stay here and I want to fix my shit. And it was really, really incredible to see how that would work. And it was very rare that somebody would end up just leaving and never coming back. So I get why that circle thing that you're talking about sounds terrifying, but it somehow works for that treatment center.
Yeah, I think it's different if it's all like all the house people.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
not with the families.
Dude, this was off. High to Hope's got it right. The hot seat. Yeah,
that's true. And this
awesome.
is like, and this is like a 30-man house, so it's not like there's a ton of people.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Anyway, hot seat. It was a hot seat for sure. So, we ready to
kick it off? Kick it off. Let's do
okay.
it.
So there's been we just recently started doing more MAT services where I work, and MAT is medically assisted treatment. And we don't have a lot of clients right now. The word isn't really out, but I've come to learn more about MAT, and I've come to learn how it is helping a large number of people. And that was really hard for me to wrap my mind around, even when I was in treatment. Like, I'd hear about MAT, and I'm like, so what? These people that are on drugs are just going to go get drugs that fuck them all up, and that's supposed to be okay, especially Suboxone. My first experience with Suboxone was a guy that was in my therapy group. He was in my group of like 8 to 10 dudes. And he came in and he looked drunk. He just got his shot.
Yeah.
And he was like, his eyes were bloodshot. He looked like he was legitimately drunk. And we were all talking like, oh, fuck, he's using again. How did he get drugs in here? Turns out it was a shot. And then I felt terrible. But now that I've learned more, there are people that benefit from MAT and other things in their recovery. So why am I bringing this up? Okay. So if you've been watching the posts on X at all, you can see some of the things that I've been posting. If you don't know what the belladonna treatment is, do some research on that. Type in belladonna treatment, go see what all is involved. There's nightshade and there's other plants that are involved. And if you want to see it mentioned in the big book, it's on page 7. It's in the first paragraph, starts my brother-in-law. And Bill W. talks about how he was on the belladonna treatment when he was in Towns Hospital. Now, if you really follow my content, podcast and stuff on X, because I think most people watching right now are on X, you'll know that I've had a back and forth with this lovely gentleman who goes by XRP. And we had a discussion. We'll call it a discussion. We'll call it that. It was just him sending a bunch of memes and links and me trying to have a conversation with the guy. But he said that Bill W. had a spiritual awakening in Towns Hospital because of his visit with Ebby, who came in and the long and short of it said, why don't you choose a God of your own perception? And it's portrayed a little bit in the big book as that was the moment that he had the white light moment. His mind cleared, and all of a sudden, all these thoughts that I had, I could just pick a God of my own conception. Wow, that's it. And that's how it's kind of portrayed, and that's absolutely how it's taught. When you go into treatment, that's 12-step, which they all are because they can't get funding if they're not. That's another topic for another day, which is ridiculous. But it's portrayed that way. And the truth of it is, and if you want to go to YouTube and type in Bill's Own Story, it's a little over an hour long, you can hear him talking about this. And what happened was, with the belladonna treatment at Towns Hospital, they were giving this dude a cocktail of psychedelics once an hour for 50 hours. God as we understand him. Yeah. Why couldn't I remember understand him? Thank you, Idaho. I had a major brain fart there. So God as he understood him was the aha moment. So what you've come to find out, I caught you. All right, Lonnie. So stay focused here, heathen. So he was getting this cocktail once an hour for 50 hours, and that was the belladonna treatment. So Ebby came in, had that conversation with them, and then as you find out and you look a little more into it, and he talks about it in Bill's Own Story, it was hours later, after another dose of this medicine, that Bill had this white light moment. That's when it happened. So it was a combination of the conversation that he had with Ebby that kind of opened his, intellectual mind. I think he used the word intellectual in there. And then it was the cocktail that kind of pushed it over the edge. Now, why is this important? I feel it's extremely important to understand the way that things are presented in AA and the way the things that they really are, because the way they're presented sometimes turns a lot of people off. It's the reason why I don't go anymore, because I just can't. I can't. It's helping people, so I would keep my mouth shut, but just so I don't look and have body language that's bad for the group, I just stay away. So this white light moment was induced by psychedelics. And so I think it was 20 some years later, 2 decades later, right around there, Bill had created AA. He had had this moment at Towns Hospital. He still struggled with anxiety and depression. He wanted to recreate that spiritual experience that he had. And remind me to go back to the spiritual experience part, Adam, if you would. He wanted to recreate it, and he couldn't through the program itself. So he went to doctors and got prescribed LSD. And that's one thing that a lot of people go to. It's like, oh, well, it's doctor prescribed. Okay, does it make a difference? It's still a psychedelic. So he went in, got it prescribed, and he was able to have another experience. Okay, and that's where me and this XRP guy were arguing back and forth. He's like, no, it happened in Towns Hospital. He was right. It did happen in Towns Hospital the first time, but it wasn't because of a conversation. It was because of that and psychedelics. So why is this important again? This is super important because people are shunned away and pushed off the idea of medically assisted treatment. They're pushed into this hole where it's abstinence or failure. There's no in between. You quit now and you do it. You want to go and you want to get on. I've heard people come in and have people tell them that they're not sober because they're on certain depressive medications, or they're taking things, or they're smoking pot for anxiety, or they're doing all these things that aren't a problem with them, or their doctor's prescribed, and people really get some pushback from that. Well, you're not really sober then. So I think it needs to be talked about because Bill W., the guy whose name is up on everything, the guy, you see a big book, you think Bill W. And this dude had a lot of problems that aren't openly talked about. And I think you're a used car salesman when you bring the AA message to them without the depth. Because I know for me, before I knew all this, every time I relapsed and I was in AA, what am I doing wrong? Why can't I get this? Why are these people getting this and I'm not getting this? Why am I so miserable? If this is why isn't this working for me? And a lot of people, like this XRP douchebag, will tell you that it's your fault. You're not doing it right. You're wrong. You're not really ready to give up. You're not really ready to, be done with drinking. And that's total fucking bullshit because Bill W. needed more than just a program to do that. So, yeah. I know I told you to remind me about spiritual awakening.
Spiritual experience, yeah.
Yeah, spiritual experience. So that can mean a lot of things. I know people have came on my podcast. I know people in real life that I've talked to that have said they've had that spiritual experience in AA. It brought on the spiritual awakening. I heard that all the time from my sponsors. I heard it in the rooms, and I was waiting for that spiritual experience. And it never happened in the rooms. I still don't know if I had a spiritual experience. I had something that happened that made me like, whoa, that was really cool, but it wasn't that white light moment. So do I need psychedelics to do that? I'm not saying that. I don't know. I'm just saying that it's important to know these things because it can take a lot of heat off these people that are struggling, that are going to AA and are thinking that it's all because of them. And it's not necessarily that's the case. Okay, end rant. And babbling.
I hear it. Let me text these people real quick so they'll stop blowing my phone up.
Yeah, so they say the program works if you work it. We are all different, individually unique. So recovery has to be the same way, different and individually unique. Right. That first line right there, it works if you work it. That's where it comes in. Oh, I'm working it. Why isn't it working?
Yeah, see, I'm exactly the same thing here. I do not support that line at all. Program works if you work it. Well, then that means that it shoots if you pull the trigger. And if I'm doing everything that you're telling me to pull the trigger and the gun is not firing, then it's not working. I mean, that's to use a completely off the wall, but analogy that works.
It works.
That puts to me, this is one of my pet peeves in life is when you take something that is subjective and then you try to measure it objectively. Both of us having a safety background, I'm sure you can exactly go see what I'm talking about here. But when you take something that is subjective as a spiritual experience and putting time and effort, energy, and opening your heart and trying to do everything to work the steps the way that you're being told to work them, the way that it feels right to you, but it's not clicking for you to not be able to pick up the bottle. And then for someone to tell you, it's like, oh, well, you're not working the steps hard enough, or you didn't work them the right way, or you need to do them again, or you didn't do it right.
Yeah.
How do you say you can't do that? I mean, that is borderline to me. If you were to do that to a 6-year-old, that's child abuse. That's traumatic.
It's narcissism, isn't it?
A
little bit?
Yes. You could easily call it narcissism, in my opinion.
So what I always, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying that. I mean, that's one of the reasons why, as soon as I didn't have to go to meetings anymore, that I left. Just
So,
one of the many, but.
And when I get that line, or I get that, maybe you should be sober a little longer before you talk about these things, or I get all those wonderful little pokes that you get, like, it works if you work it. What does work it mean?
Exactly.
And you're going to get a different answer from every single person that you ask that to. Well, how long do I need to be sober before I'm a sponsor? Oh, a year, 2 years, 6 months.
6 weeks.
Bill wasn't 6 weeks.
If you've worked the steps, you can be a sponsor.
Yeah,
Okay,
Bill was what before he started going to people's houses and recruiting people. You know what I mean? Like, and so we can't give him the superpower. He's the only one that got it that quick that he can go do this. The whole point of it is, if you work on yourself, things are going to get better. But that work is absolutely subjective to every single person. If you work the steps, what does that mean? Do I do 1 step a month? Because I hear some sponsors won't let people do them more than one a month. Do you do 1 a week? Do you go through them like I did with my sponsor during COVID, and we sit in front of a computer for 8 fucking hours and do all those? I felt accomplished. I felt really fucking good about it. So in that respect, it was really cool. There's a really cool picture of me setting my step 4 on fire. My inventory. I went and burned that shit afterwards. It was a really cool moment. I felt really good. So absolutely, that will do something for you, sure. But which one is right? And like Ida Hope says, they want you to work it, but work it uniquely to yourself. And that's just not how I've seen it explained. If it was explained that way, then I think it would be a little more open. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I just define me what working the program means exactly, other than a bland, well, you got to work the sense to get a sponsor.
Yeah.
When do I get a sponsor? How do I know which one's a sponsor? Does my sponsor have to talk to his sponsor in order to talk to me before he gives advice or makes any big decisions with me? Because that's what you're kind of led to believe. Don't do anything without talking to your sponsor first.
Well, this is everything we've talked about so far is what pushed me further into digging into the principles of addiction and the principles of sobriety and the principles of recovery, principles over methods. And as soon as you realize that AA is a method and not the principle, the whole world changes. How you think about sobriety and recovery will change. Once you realize that it is a tool, it is an avenue that you can go to get to a destination, it is not the destination. Mm-hmm. Then how you see the world is going to just drastically shift. I think you can use a lot of AA to do a lot of healing and increase your spiritual health, so to say, drastically, especially depending on where you start, because everybody starts on a spectrum. Some of us start with lots of spiritual growth already, and it's like, okay, I'm not sure how doing an inventory list of moral character flaws that I don't really have, these are like one-off scenarios, not something that I lived by, is going to help me, but I'll try it and go, okay, well, I mean, I did the steps, and he's like, that's it. I'm like, you told me to write down every negative thing, bad thing I ever did to somebody that I can remember on a piece of paper. I'm sorry, it was only 3 pieces of paper. I mean, I'm a good dude.
That just, it doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean?
So,
so many of us are really good people. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There's a train of thought I was trying to pull back up.
Well, I wanted to say this again, because for those that are listening and bitching at the screen right now, and maybe they're not, but this is not hating on AA. This is just talking about the circumstances of it I feel you need to know the whole fucking story before you put somebody on a pedestal or a program on a pedestal that it's this miraculous thing. Like, the best studies show between a 3 and 9% success rate for AA. And maybe that's a little higher. I don't know. But just from my experience in the last year working in an outpatient facility, I would say that success rate is about pretty damn close. And so is it good? Yeah, absolutely. Is it great sometimes? Absolutely. I've had some, what you could argue are spiritual moments, they were fleeting, but that connection and that story, that passion that you hear every now and again. So AA is phenomenal, but I think we need to tell the whole story to help people be more willing to come in.
Yeah.
And hear what they have to say, and know that when the judgmental guys start creeping in, which they're probably few and far between, I want to believe that, but yeah.
Yeah. Somebody, so I'm going to go off on a tangent on this one right here. I'm trying to find the tweets. What I've been if you see me, looks like I'm zoning out. I'm looking at the tweet, but somebody had posted a couple days ago. I think it might have been on the one of yours, you and XRP going back and forth. I can't remember, but talking about AA is for narcissists, and it had this pretty good paragraph, and I was like, it's interesting. I'm gonna have to unpack this, and I've lost the tweet, and so I can't go back and find it. But I got to thinking about that day. I was driving somewhere, and I was like, damn. If you think about what you hear going to meetings, especially as a newcomer, and you think about the examples of doing the steps and listing out the character flaws and the moral inventory and all that stuff in the book, all of those examples, it all comes from that. Hey, it even illustrates it with wanting to be the director of the play and be the star and be the backstage and everything. Mm-hmm. The whole program is built towards someone who believes that they are the center of the world. And I was like, God bless, I've never even put that together. And so, going back and unpacking this right here might be one of the reasons why so many people don't identify with AA and drop out of the program, because they're like, the only way that you can convince me that I'm a selfish person is that I'm drinking, and therefore I am not giving myself to other people. So that's why I need to go and do service work to get my mind out of being selfish. When anytime that, it's like, I'm the least selfish person there is. And the brainwashing to me, and yes, I did say brainwashing, is when the old timer sits there and goes, yeah, but that's being selfish. Just because you got helping somebody else, even if you were drinking, that's still being selfish. And I'm sitting there going, again, I have somebody else objectively telling me what they cannot understand is going on in my heart or my head. And so it just really, that it just blew me away. I was like, that's really, really it.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I mean, I just typed in, is AA a selfish program? And it says Alcoholics Anonymous is not a selfish program. At its core, it's quite the opposite. Selfishness is the root of our troubles, and we must be rid of it and practice selflessness at every opportunity if we are to remain happy, joyous, and free in sobriety.
Exactly. So, and that right there, that is doctrine, though. Mm-hmm. When you look at a statement like that, that is not the AA program. That is doctrine that AAers have put around the program.
Mm-hmm. So I can tell you right now, the person that I liked the least in my addiction was me. And I get how you can say it's selfish if you want to die or drink yourself to death.
Yeah, I can make the words.
Get that.
Yeah.
But I never thought about myself at all. Like, I did not care if I lived or died. So
yeah,
outside of me not seeing and thinking, because of the addiction about, what it would do to other people if I wasn't here, I don't know, man.
So let's unpack that one that I wrote this morning about settling for everything. Mm-hmm. So one of my biggest personal downfalls in my early adult life and into my marriage was allowing everyone else's wants and needs to take priority over mine. Whatever my wife wanted, needed, that's what we did. I never, ever expressed my desires, my wants. I never put myself at the center of it.
Yes.
And so I sedated that pain away. Like, it's not how I started drinking, but eventually it got to the point that that's the pain that I was sedating. And so that's why I had I had an almost knockdown drag out with a counselor about this. And this person was not, come to find out later, a legit counselor. They just had been in AA for 25 years. And
wonderful.
I was a counselor. Yeah.
Oh, so, that's the same thing, dude. That you get credits.
Yeah. So we had a knockdown drag out about that. I was like, that's not being selfish. That's being a pushover.
Yeah.
But that's not being.
It's like, I can't believe I never heard you say that before.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's exactly what I was doing.
Yeah.
In my marriage. Yeah. I bent over backwards to make her happy. Like, I quit coaching baseball. I quit coaching basketball. I quit hanging out with my friends. I quit doing darts. I quit everything that meant anything to me.
Yeah.
To make her happy. So and all that did was, and that pain, you said it very well, that pain and that sadness from not being who Scott was, overtook me. Now, I'm not saying she put the fucking alcohol in my mouth and made me drink it. I made that choice.
Me too.
I chose to use alcohol as that thing, but I
learned that alcohol was great at being a coping tool. So I needed more coping.
For me, it was the one fucking thing that I had control over, dude.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Yeah, I'd put her to bed. I'd put the kids to bed, and I had my 4 half pints either in the trunk or under the couch by that time, and I grab my iPad, I turn on Netflix, I watch Supernatural, and I get drunk by myself. And it's the one thing, I'm a man, I'm doing this. I'm going to eat chips while you're sleeping. I'm going to get drunk while you're sleeping. I'm going to stay up as late as I want because I feel like you're more like my mother than my fucking wife.
Yeah.
So, I totally relate to that. Absolutely.
And so that having that argument that I was always having with people, that's another thing that led me to the principles over methods. I was like, there's something else here. Like I've said it multiple times when you and I have been together, or you, me, and Lindsay, that I think AA accidentally was able to scratch the surface on a lot of the facets that you have to hit in order to fully recover from an addiction. I don't think they did it intentionally. I mean, we know they didn't do it intentionally because they didn't have anything. They just created this shit out of thin air almost. But they hit on some things. And so it's a good, I even hate saying this, it's a good jumping in point if you have absolutely no idea what to do and you need some help. It's a great jumping in point. But I think as soon as you do the steps once and you have a comprehension of what's going on, then you have to go and you have to start doing more other things to get to where you can live authentically. Because, and I've been putting this on a lot of tweets lately, is, hey, be authentic, live authentically, because you being you is the key to not needing anything to make you feel better. Drugs, alcohol, sex, shopping, porn, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Like, another thing I was thinking about this earlier. I can't remember what I heard it on. If I read it on something, I was just thinking about it. But the AA believes that they have a daily reprieve from the allergy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a fucking allergy. Shove that up your ass. But
that's what I'm talking
about. A daily reprieve. I was like, so wait a second. And it is just shit that I just think about all the time. Like, if this is the way to stay sober, and I do all this work, and I've corrected these moral failings, I'm aware of them so that when they do pop back up, I can go back and make my amends and try to correct it, keep it in the forefront of my mind so I don't do it again. If I'm always doing that, why is it only a daily reprieve? Because we know from a physical, neurological standpoint that once we get to a certain amount of time, It's not a daily reprieve. It's just done.
Yeah, just is.
So there are people out there like myself, and I think like you, I'm going to speak for you here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But, well, I know for me, I'm not going to speak for you. I call myself effortlessly sober. Like I have not had a day in 5 years where I have looked at something and wanted to drink it, where I've had a thought of a beer will make me feel better. A couple shots will get the trick done. Now, that's different than having memories of, it's like, oh man, remember when you used to have a beer? Yeah. Or something like that. That's different than saying you want that or you desire that or you have a craving for it.
Sure.
There is no, phenomenon of craving going on. So for someone like XRP who says AA only works for real alcoholics and not hard and moderate drinkers.
The fucking real alcoholic shit can shove up your ass too.
Yeah, right.
Ahead. Sorry.
So if it only works for serious alcoholics, then that's turning tons of people away from AA that could be, using it.
Cool.
But at the same time, I'm going, well, who's doing the real work here? Because if what you're doing only gives you a daily reprieve and you're telling me that you have a craving for alcohol every single day, why the fuck would I want to do that when there are other options out there?
Dude, that's exactly. So the reason why I talk about this so much, or we talk about this, is because AA is in every courtroom, every hospital,
that's
every PO's office. It's everywhere. And it has such a fucking opportunity to send a better message. But the problem is the real alcoholic bullshit. It only works if you work it bullshit. Oh, well, you're starting completely over because you had a relapse. I know that you just had 4 months clean and sober, but you drank this weekend. So starting over, that's all gone. That kind of
embarrass yourself with another white chip.
They're just everywhere, dude. Like AA has this opportunity to reach out, and nobody, dude, clients want to come to our meetings or my meeting. They want something different because they go to these meetings and they hear the same shit. Now, okay, I get it. For the newcomer, you come in, you read the same things every single time. It takes 20 minutes to a half an hour to get through all the readings. And then you sit there, and most of the time, these people have replaced their addiction to substances to being at a meeting and sharing every single time. I cannot tell you the guys that are in sobriety court right now, that in this town, there's one AA meeting that has like 6 a day, 4 to 6 meetings a day. And when you have to hit X amount of meetings to graduate treatment court, you got to utilize this thing. And they come in and they're like, Jesus Christ, the same guy with the same story every single day. And that's what that guy needs. So I'm all for that guy being able to go in there and share that. I'm not trying to take away from that guy. What I'm saying is, there could be some updated things, but they're so stuck in keeping the program the way it's always been that they're missing opportunities. Maybe one day, what's it say? Maybe one day science will do this.
Science may one day.
I can't believe I'm having a brain fart on that. It's how it works, right? Science may one day accomplish this, but it hasn't done so yet.
Yeah.
So maybe science has done this now.
That's what I mean? I've said this more times than I can count. If when they founded AA, if they some advisory committee, they had put something in there to allow for updating with science and medicine as it progressed, I think there'd be a lot more clout. But
and I think too, and this is the problem with us humans. Like page 112 of the big book, the first 3 letters says, read this book, right? Those are the instructions. So if you go and read the book yourself, I think that should be the first thing that you do. Like, if you want to give AA and sobriety a shot, read the book yourself and see what it says, because you're going to see some interesting things in there. I'm not saying people are intentionally misinterpreting.
Like I said, it is a great starting point, and it is a great message of hope that you can do it, and it gives you that feeling that you need to make the steps to start changing your life.
Yes,
but it's like saying, hey, you know what, I want to climb the Empire State Building. All right, well, here's how you get to the first floor. All right, I'm at the first floor. What do I do now? Come back down. You gotta go. This is it. Floors 0 through 1. That's all you got. If you want to get all the way to the top, you at some point have got to ditch hanging out on the first floor and start going somewhere else.
So sometimes, maybe this is going to be too much along the lines of real alcoholic and not real alcoholic, and I will vomit in my mouth if it is. But you might say, hey, Adam, man, my fucking shoulder hurts, dude. What do you do when you have shoulder pains? Oh, well, I try ice, or I try heat, or I try icy hot, or I take ibuprofen at this time, or I do a hot shower, I do an ice bath. You can get all these suggestions that you can get from people, but eventually when it's not getting better, you have to go to an expert. You have to go to a doctor or specialist and really figure out what's going on. Sometimes you need surgery. Sometimes, you can't just fix these things on your own. Again, there are so many great people. I've had great people that are diehard AAs on my podcast. And I don't want this to sound like we need more of those people, but those people are busy and doing other things. So sometimes you're left with XRP and, and that's.
Well, so to use your analogy, I mean, that's a great analogy, because let's say you're at the gym and you were sitting there, you're like, man, my shoulder's killing me. And you're asking the guy who's at the gym all the time, who's got the killer physique, who's bench pressing 350 for reps. You go, hey, dude, my shoulder is killing me. He goes, oh, man, I got the exercise you need. It's right over here. And he shows you how to do something and just blast your rotator cuff up even more.
Yeah.
And then eventually you run into somebody who happens to be in the gym who you look at him and be like, damn, he knows what he's doing. He's not the biggest guy. He's, but I'm going to go ask him. And he goes, hey, you know what? It sounds like you've actually got something you really need to go get looked at. The principles for any soft tissue injury are rest, ice, compression, elevation, and some anti-inflammatories. Why don't you go see a specialist now and get them to x-ray that shit?
Yeah.
Somebody that says, hey, look, these are the principles. I'm not telling you any one method is the only way to fix this problem.
Yeah. So. That's great. And so there's that saying where anybody can go into a gym and lift and get stronger, right? Anybody. Okay. I fucked it all up from go. You can know nothing about lifting and go to a gym and lift and get stronger.
Yes.
You can know everything about lifting and never do the work, and you'll never get stronger.
Yes.
That's so maybe that's where we can turn this and bring it back home here. It works if you work it. If you're willing to work on yourself, if you're able to ignore the bullshit that other people are spewing and just take what you need and leave the rest, another AA thing, which I think is very good. If you're able to put in the work on yourself, then things are going to work. But we've got to be careful about saying the program works if you work it, because all that's telling people that it didn't work for, or it didn't jive the first couple times, is to throw the flag and say, fuck it, this is stupid, I'm never going back. And that can't happen when you are AA and you are involved in every fucking thing in this planet, from courts to hospitals to treatment. That can't happen. Get your shit together, you fucking egomaniac, motherfucking narcissist bitches. You're killing people. I've been told I'm killing people so many times, especially from that son of a bitch XRP. Like, oh, he's not an alcoholic anymore. He doesn't drink anymore, so he's not.
I'm not an alcoholic. I told him that. The last time I told him that, he goes, "Oh, I guess you're not an alcoholic." And I was like, "You damn straight I'm not, because I don't drink.
I'm not drinking.
So I have none of the problems that alcohol causes. I have no cravings. I'm not an alcoholic anymore. Now I know as soon as I put it back in my body, am I most likely going to be like, I might could do another one. There is no part of me that thinks that as soon as I go and have one shot, that I'm going to immediately be back into the bottom of the bottle drinking like I was. That's not going to happen. It's going to happen in about a month.
Right.
That is my best guess. Do I know it's going to happen for sure? No, I don't. Because the only people that we know that are successful moderate drinkers, or that can successfully drink after having been an alcoholic, we label them as never having been an alcoholic.
That's our solution to it, isn't it?
That's the loophole. It's like, well, he can drink now normally. Well, then he wasn't an alcoholic to begin with. It's like, if the only criteria for being a goddamn member is that you want to stop drinking and correct your problem, then you're an alcoholic.
Only requirement.
If he's now figured out a way to drink on occasion moderately, and he has none of the problems, the side effects, any of the shit that came along from the first time,
fucking
good
hero.
For him. Yeah, good for him. Can I do it? I don't think I can. So I'm not gonna chance it. And so, man.
The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking.
Yeah.
But you're not an alcoholic if we don't say so. Anyway, God bless him. God bless XRP. And then, I hope he's nice and warm and comfy in his mom's basement tonight. I hope he's living his best life. I just don't understand. And the thing that I tell this guy in particular, and the thing I'm going to start probably being more vocal to people that come on the feed and start, getting butthurt because of this conversation, is you are miserable. You couldn't see me post that I'm no longer an alcoholic. That bothered you so bad that you have to spend days on my feed commenting to other people commenting on my stuff. And then you have to keep coming back because it hurt your feelings so bad. Yeah. I don't think about you until I see, oh, fuck, XRP. What the fuck does this guy want? And other than this podcast where I had to bring you up because it's kind of part of the topic, I don't go to your feed and look for shit to get pissed off about. That's a problem.
And that's exactly right. That is the problem to me, that your moral inventory, your character flaws should be represented. It's not, let me go and make a list of every bad thing that I've ever done and figure out how it fits into jealousy and anger and all this stuff. It's, what about that person drives me insane? Okay, where in me am I doing that? Because that's why it drives you insane. It's because you identify with it. Yeah. That is the actual work. Mm-hmm. That's why I said they hit on some stuff on a very high surface level and didn't realize it. And I think that's one of the connections. But most people don't take it any deeper. They don't go into all right, this dude has been getting on my nerves for years. What is going on? Nobody ever.
So in your experience with AA, did you get a vibe a lot of times when people come in and you're in a bad way, like a real bad way? And you can tell people that have more going on than just drinking.
Oh, yeah.
I know people could recognize that with me. I never heard a lot in AA before or after the meetings of like, hey, you should go maybe talk to a therapist.
Or just keep coming back.
Yeah, keep coming back here to us. And that's just, again, and again, this is, again, bringing it back to the first part of the discussion about Bill W. He didn't just sit in the rooms. He was working his program. He knew what he wanted, which was to quit drinking. He knew he needed some sort of spiritual experience, especially since he had it the first time. And he looked for that for a long time. He did a lot of different things. And, you even brought up the niacin, right?
Yeah. He tried high doses of niacin, vitamin B3 to do it. And like I said, I'd have to do the research and figure out exactly how that brings out a spiritual experience. But
and he tried, and I don't know, I haven't done enough. You taught me that tonight, that he did the niacin. But either way, even without the niacin, you have two examples of him going outside the rooms to get help. So the whole point is that should be the approach to get it where you can get it.
Yeah. And all right, I'm just going to say it anyway. So I hate going down. We get down this road sometimes of like dumping on AA, and I have legit problems and things that I don't agree with. And there are some people that if they came to me and said, hey, I need to stop drinking, I would not send them to AA because I know them well enough. Yeah. But if it's somebody random off the street, I'm going to send them to AA. So what a lot of people don't know either, and I'm sorry if you feel like I'm dumping on the dead guy who's the founder of AA, but on his deathbed, he was begging for whiskey. Yeah. And this is not some internet rumor. You can go to the archives in the library at his house in Ohio. Ohio? I think it's Ohio. Mm-hmm. And it's part of the nurse's notes.
Yeah.
I mean, for his entire last week of his life in bed, he begged and begged and begged for whiskey. They never gave it to him. To me, that's not a man who was recovered. Now, I don't know. I've never been on my deathbed, so I don't have the experience yet.
So I think this is interesting. This is very interesting that you bring this up.
Maybe it's just he knows that he's dying. It's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm dying. Let me have it now. maybe that's his thoughts.
Yeah.
But from what AA the rooms, not AA the book, say, is that should not happen.
Yeah, he was not recovered by those rules, not the principles and what AA itself is saying, but from the rooms, he was not recovered because he asked for that. You know what it does for me, hearing shit about that? You know what it does for me when I hear that, he was doing the belladonna psychedelics, when he was doing the niacin, when he was doing the LSD, and when he was begging for whiskey on his deathbed because he had emphysema and was a miserable death.
Yeah.
Makes him fucking human.
Yeah, as I was about to say, it makes him a real person.
So much more relatable that way. But you go and you listen, go talk to somebody. Try it. Talk to somebody that's really deep into AA and ask them to tell you, hey, can you tell me a little bit about Bill W? Oh, yeah. So Bill W was the worst alcoholic. I mean, the worst you've ever seen. Just as bad as he can get, right? He lost jobs. He lost money. Almost got a divorce. Had to move into his wife's parents' house. And he quit for a minute, and then he'd go right back. Yeah. And it was just terrible. And then he goes into Towns Hospital, and he meets this guy. And his best friend comes in here from the Oxford group and comes in and gives him this message. It turned a light bulb in Bill's head on, and he never looked back. He started AA from the Oxford group steps, and he never looked back. He lived a perfect life. He was happy all the time. He worked, AA and created this thing that is saving millions of people's lives. And there's nothing ever wrong with Bill W. He just died a happy man. And that's not real life.
Not true.
Yeah, not real life.
Not true. Well, like anything, humans, people in general, collectively, take the message, the principle, and as soon as it becomes a method, we put everything around it, just like every major religion. We take a message that somebody's trying to deliver, and we take their exact method of how they were trying to deliver that message, and we make their method be religion, not their message.
Yeah. We all need, most of us need a hero. So
absolutely.
We create these things and make them larger than life. And to me, the heroes are the ones that are authentic. That's a word that we both like to use a little bit, and real. And I like Bill more now, honestly. I learned about the niacin today. And
throughout his entire life, he and his wife were experimenting with all sorts of different spiritual modalities as well. They were not, I think in the book I read, they call themselves Christian, but that was just because that's what they kind of had to do in the 40s.
Sure. Yeah.
But they were playing around with a lot of other modalities as well.
Yeah.
Constantly in search of that spiritual experience. And if you read about his spiritual experience he had, and this is in one of the biographies, but if you read about his spiritual experience, it almost exactly mimics, at least the tale that he recounts of it, the spiritual experience that his grandfather had, that his grandfather recounted to him. So, again, how much, this is kind of what we were talking about before we went live, is how much of the spiritual experience is actually unique to us as opposed to something that is lying kind of dormant in our subconscious that we all of a sudden gain access to based off of our beliefs, because our subconscious collects and gathers everything, and that's all it does is soak up data. So again, it's all we're all searching for understanding of this, and it goes far deeper and far more involved and in depth than anybody I think is ever going to be able to figure out. And I think it's just very narcissistic to think that a very small method is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Isn't it? Imagine selling a product, and every time the product failed, you weren't using it right.
User error.
Yeah.
My car keeps crashing.
Well, that hour went by very quickly.
That did go by quick. Yeah, I was like, how many people we got left in here?
18. Looks like 18.
Hey, really?
18 are viewing right now. One person on YouTube, the rest on X. So It was really great to see Lonnie's name pop up in the comments. It was really nice to meet Hi to Hope. I feel bad if we've met before. I apologize, but I used to drink a lot, so my brain's fried. So just remember that. But I really liked what you had to say, and if you're ever interested in joining us or coming on for an interview, again, I don't know your name. I'm sorry, but Hi to Hope. It was great content or comments. Jesus Christ, I told you a lot. I drink a lot. Drugs and alcohol are so far removed from me, it never crosses my mind anymore. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I think about alcohol far more than I'd like to admit. I'm not, but it's different than before. It's not planning and scheming and all right, on this day I'm going to do it. I mean, I've done that, and I've shared that story where I forgot twice. But I do, I walk through the store, and I just the other day, I think I was talking to Miley, and we were having a conversation like, man, I wish I could fucking drink normally. I wish I could just.
Yeah.
What did we do? We went somewhere. I can't remember where we went. But I was like, this would be so much better if I could get a buzz on. And it's not true, but those voices are still in there. It is true. It is true because it used to be true.
Yes.
Right.
It's that old perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Your former perspective. That's the way you used to look at it.
Yep.
That's the way you used to look at
it. And that's what we remember. And that'll be a topic for another time. But I remember all the good. I don't remember the bad because I'm too fucking drunk. And that's why it's like that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, we need to talk next time we do this, we need to talk about the reticular activating system, which is the part of the brain that it's like your filter, when you say, hey, don't think about pink elephants or whatever. That's a bad example. Better example is like, what's your favorite car? Like, what's the car you want to go out and buy right now? And as soon as you get fixated on it, you see them driving around you everywhere.
Right.
It's like, hey, I want a red Tesla S. And all of a sudden you see red Tesla S's everywhere. And it's because it's locked into your reticular activating system. And I think what AA does in a nutshell real quickly is help you start to reprogram that into a sober person. It helps you to start changing some of those behaviors that you don't like about yourself through that means. I think it has absolutely nothing to do with writing them down and admitting to people, other than that brings awareness to them so that your reticular activating system shows them to you so that you will be mindful of them so that you will not do them.
Right.
So that's where it happens. It has nothing to do with writing it in the notebook paper and then reading it out loud to each other, other than bringing awareness to it.
Right.
So
that's a good point.
But again, principles versus methods. Well, hey, next time we're gonna have to talk about August. Just started off with.
The title was August commitments. So I guess the commitment is to do the podcast again.
Nice.
It's never been something I don't want to do, but I get in my head where I'm like, I just talk about the same things over and over again. And we kind of do, but they're, I think they're important.
I think they're important, and I think we bring up different points and kind of dig into some of those points.
Yeah, I think so. And the groups that I do at work, like I'm always fearful of that too, and they always seem to go well. So, I got to get over my fucking mind thing. What I would love to do at some point would be to be able to do this, to have some sort of funding. And the first thing I want to be able to do is to be able to afford to pay for Ubers for people to get to treatment. Because we have people that come in all the time. We have a bus that comes in. We actually just got a grant. We haven't used it yet. We just got a grant for Ubers, actually, to get people to our treatment center, which is super awesome. But I would like to be able to do that, not for just sending people from our outpatient to our inpatient. I would like to have something, and I have a name for it. I just need to start writing things down, maybe get with Adam on it, see what he thinks. I have a name for it. The name is Awesome, because to give you a little hint, it's the opposite of addiction. And it's kind of a word there that I would call this thing and just say, hey, you call up blank and we'll see if we can't find you a ride or help you get funding for a ride, right? So we're not going to be handing, if this happened, not going to be handing cash to people. This would be a call, give me the address for pickup, and we pay for it, and we get you to treatment.
To treatment back home, nothing else.
Yep. Or we have people too. We have United Way up here that is phenomenal. They help pay for some of people's treatment that aren't working right now, and they're trying to get help. Or mothers with a couple kids that can't work and maintain all the requirements they have from the courts or whatever. United Way pitches in. I would love to be or create something that was like that to be able to help people get places and to find treatment.
You know what? Let's talk about that more, because I've got my the counselor that I talk to. She's high up in Georgia's drug court system, and that's something that we have talked about before. Is just the not gatekeeping, I guess the barriers of entry for people getting to treatment and getting the treatment they need. So,
and the biggest barrier is right here, because I've done it and I've seen other people do it. Well, if I can't get in today, I'll just come back next week, and you never see them again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So like I've told that story before, where I'll be brief here because I know we've kept everybody for over an hour, but when I went back, I decided to go back to Harbor Hall again after 30 days of the worst 30 days of my life, drinking, waking up in the hospital. I called and said, hey, can you guys get me in? I need to come back. And he's like, can't get you in until Tuesday. And that was 2 or 3 days later. And I was like, okay. And I hung up. The dude calls me back 5 minutes later, and he's like, hey, can you get here today or tomorrow? I got you a bed. And after I hung up,
you already made my mindset. Go to the store. Go to the store.
I had the fifth sitting right there.
Oh, yeah.
Might have been a half gallon. I don't remember which one it was. So he hung up. I stared at it for a little bit. Okay. Started chugging. He called me back. I'm like, well, let me make some calls to see if I can get a ride. I hung up, sat the phone down, stared at the phone, stared at the liquor. Nope. I'm going on Tuesday. Glug, 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 glug. Yeah, man, I'm sorry. Thank you so much for trying to get me in today or tomorrow or whatever day it was. Thank you so much. I can't get a ride until Tuesday now. I'm sorry. And so that gave me 2 more days of drinking. I'm lucky to have survived it.
Yep. So, absolutely agree.
Okay, well, this is awesome, man. I've missed our chats. Thank you for
me too.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to make this thing more consistent, but.
Yeah, stay tuned. I'm going to start tweet some stuff out about what I'm going to try and do for August. So, see if we can get some other people involved who want to tackle one specific goal and see if we can make something happen in 31 days.
Right on. And another idea I had, just throw this out there for anybody listening, shoot me a DM or comment if you are interested. I was wondering about a Sober Heathen Fantasy Football League. It would be a buy-in, and then winner takes half of whatever and the other half would go to a donation. Maybe, I just donate it to a company or something to help pay for some people's copays.
Oh, cool.
Or whatever. I've been tossing that around too. So we got a lot of things that we can do to help people out. I got to put it on paper and get the ideas out there. So
that works. Cool. Awesome.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much. Stay safe in DC. Watch the swamp critters out there, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, I'll be on a flight in about 16 hours.
Okay. Well, go get some rest.
Be headed on. Yeah. All right, man.
Bye, everybody.